Bahrain is a tiny state on the east coast of Saudi Arabia. It is the only Gulf state to have experienced significant protests during the Arab Spring in February and March 2011. After an attempt by the government to negotiate, security forces ended the protests in a violent crackdown, which was responsible for many allegations of mistreatment and torture, and at least 35 deaths, a number which has now risen to over 130. Appointed by King Hamad, Sherif Bassiouni, an international human rights expert, led an independent investigation regarding the allegations. The extensive report concluded excessive force had indeed been exerted. It also featured a number of recommendations which the government had agreed to implement. It has been 3 years since the investigation, and independent assessments detail only half-hearted attempts by the Bahraini government to implement the recommendations. I met with a number of experts to find out more.
The BICI report, which was approved by the King, set out specific recommendations for the government to follow. And the government, approving the report, approved the recommendations. But all the changes that they've made have been exclusively cosmetic.
Since the establishment of the Bahraini Independent Commission of Inquiry, which is known as the Biki or Bassiouni report, there has been a number of recommendations in that Biki report which the authorities have said that they are implementing, and sometimes they have fully implemented and now are going beyond the implementation of the Biki recommendations.
There were attempts for dialogue. There was hope that this Biki report would be indeed implemented, acknowledging a lot of wrongdoing by the government forces, but nothing has been really seen.
They keep promising, while historically they are breaking their promises.
Despite clear evidence of human rights violations and social injustice, historic ties, strategic location, and military links keep Bahrain in the good books of the Western countries. Britain's relationship with Bahrain is one of the oldest and the closest in the Gulf.
So our strategic priority for the Gulf and for the wider region is to build partnerships. Partnerships for security, partnerships for prosperity, partnerships for stability.
The UK has permitted several visits from the Al Khalifa family, a favour that even the United States has refused, albeit its military ties with Bahrain.
The UK, a country that should be, a guiding light in terms of the rule of law, the country where the Parliament has repeatedly said that Bahrain should be listed as a country of concern, the executive simply seems to be ignoring all of that and providing encouragement to Bahrain in its worst practices.
We don't really need to wait for a whitewash report before I hope we can just say yes to all 3 points.
Well, we do want human rights to be fully respected in Bahrain. And I think it's wrong, actually, of the Right Honourable Gentleman to say in advance of that report that it is a whitewash report. We'll be able to see whether it is or not. We'll be able to form our own judgment about that. But I think it's wrong for him to form his judgment of that before its publication.
The UK is very active within Bahrain as the UK, and we saw this with the really quite curious deal over a naval base. The UK is far more interested in selling guns and tanks and bombs to the countries, the regimes of the Middle East, rather than the interests of the people who live there.
Catherine Ashton, then EU High Representative, released numerous statements advocating for national reconciliation talks, calling on all parties to engage without preconditions.
Catherine Ashton's statements at the time raised a lot of eyebrows here in the European Parliament because there was sort of an attempt to put the people who were being repressed, which represent the majority of the people of Bahrain, in the same footing as those who were repressing them.
Bahrain is listed as not free by Freedom House. its ratings have plummeted since 2011. Since the uprisings began, things have not only gotten worse. Journalists, activists, and opposition leaders continue to be arbitrarily arrested. Even the Secretary General of Bahrain's main opposition party, Al-Wefaq, is currently being detained.
Sheikh Ali Salman had two hearings, one in January, the other one in last February in 2015. In the second hearing, Sheikh Ali Salman wasn't allowed to speak. In the second hearing, even his defense team, they did not speak too much. They did mention Sheikh Ali Salman has no weapons, he's not dangerous. If they released him, this might bring more peace to the country. But the judge was not listening.
اعتقلوني طوال حياتي، اعتقلوا زوجتي، اعتقلوا إخوتي. ليس لكم شرعية شعبية، لو وضعتمونا جميعا في السجن لن نعطيكم هذه الشرعية.
The main charge against him is, which is the most serious one, is the one where he's charged of inciting to overthrow the regime by illegal means and force. His imprisonment is a very big blow to freedom of expression in Bahrain. It's because if you listen to the speeches of Ali Salman, he has always been denouncing violence, calling for peaceful protests.
The following footage is part of the case against Sheikh Salman.
لقد عرضت على المعارضة البحرينية أن تنهج نهج المعارضة السورية وأن تحول البلد إلى معركة عسكرية، ولكن ثبات هذه المعارضة على السلمية، وضوح رؤيتها، هو العنصر الأساسي الذي حافظ على البحرين بعيدة عن الانجرار إلى العنف. وإجرام قد نظم قتلا لدعاة الإصلاح.
Sheikh Salman clearly rejects any form of violence and insists protests should remain peaceful. The authorities have purposely misinterpreted his speech as evidence of inciting violence.
Sheikh Ali Salman doesn't deserve to be behind bars. We need to see Sheikh Ali Salman back to his normal practices of trying to reach solution. He is the key person who can build a solution in a consensus way, and he could market this solution to his people.
The main political party, Al-Wefaq, has a very moderate attitude. I met with Sheikh Ali Salman, and it's quite outrageous that he, as the leader of the main opposition party, is now in jail.
Figà-Talamanca, Secretary General of No Peace Without Justice, has issued a joint appeal with parliamentarians for global action, calling for Ali Salman's immediate and unconditional release. 110 parliamentarians across the globe have agreed to sign.
The arrest of Wefaq, Secretary General, I think it might show that they are reaching an end to their pretense. It might show that they're not interested anymore in looking good. So, dangerous times.
I wish it would be time for European members who have influence in the region and in Bahrain specifically to speak up more in line with with what are European principles and obligations.
Opposition parties are key to any democracy, and Sheikh Salman's arrest is contributing to further tensions and disunity within Bahrain. His detention casts doubt on the government's willingness to find political resolution.